easily. So from here, hey, grab 1, 2, 3, 4, pull them down, grip, then come in.
Like most karate kata, Unshu's origins are likely China, and in particular for this kata, white crane martial arts. In a moment, we'll dive into Aragaki Sensei a little more and his role in its propagation from Okinawa. But firstly, the original pronunciation from Okinawa is Unshu, while the more modern adaptation that Shotokan does has been relabeled as Unsu, but both names use the same kanji. In this video we will show 3 variants of the kata commonly seen, covering off on Tani-derived Shito-ryu such as Rembukan and Shukukai, and the similar Hayashi-ha version. Then secondly we will look at the original Mabuni Shito-ryu version, today practiced by the Seito Mabuni family line. And then finally look at the Shotokan version. In many ways these 3 versions show an evolution or a migration from a more original version, the Mabuni family way, to a more modern version, the Shukukai and Hayashi-ha way, most often seen in WKF competition, to ultimately an even more athletic tournament-oriented version, the Shotokan way. We will dive into the direct lineage of the kata and the people who have passed it down as a first part of the video. As with all our detailed kata videos in the traditional Japanese Karate Network series, we will address bunkai in some detail, comparing classical moves, which may or may not be deemed as practical based on an evidence-based approach to bunkai. This is mapping from the textbook relating street fighting statistics derived from emergency departments and police records to classical karate moves. Beyond the Shotokan and Shito-ryu versions, there is a radically different kata under the same name. This version is practiced by a number of Okinawan practitioners and styles, and is always termed Aragaki Unshu, rather than simply Unshu. The Aragaki Unshu version is significantly different, and clearly not a direct map to the Shotokan or Shito-ryu versions. However, some similarities exist in the early stages of the Aragaki Unshu kata, in that some similar 4-directional moves exist, a latter stage kakeuke, maigeri component, and a crescent kick. But little else does relate to the Shotokan and Shito-ryu's kata version, despite the fact that many have suggested one follows the other. As we've already alluded to, Shotokan and Shito-ryu are the 2 major styles that practice this kata, and presumably, and the history here is vague, Mabuni is the one who's responsible for taking it from the Okinawan region to mainland Japan. It may well be that Funakoshi learnt it in Japan like the Pinan kata from Mabuni. Before Mabuni, the kata seems to have come from Aragaki Sensei. And again, the history here is vague. And Aragaki Sensei lived from the mid-1800s to the early 1900s, and it's presumed that Mabuni learnt it directly from him, as he definitely had some one-on-one interactions. The other interesting note around this history is that often Shotokan just practice Itosu line kata, not so much Naha-te kata. But this kata clearly sits in the Naha-te category whenever you look at the way that it's categorized. So that would be, it's more aligned with katas like Seisan and Sanshin, those Naha style katas, where Naha-te consists of more powerful and round motions versus Shurite, which is fast, linear, quick motions tend to categorize the kata from that region. And I say region very loosely. Naha and Shuri are very close to each other in today's world in terms of how we measure distance in those original ways. And it was from Mabuni Kenzo, son of the Mabuni Kenwa Shito-ryu founder, that Cells Hanshi received his 8th dan. As already mentioned, I will show the Mabuni version of this kata in this video, and thanks to Hanshi Cells for the session he gave me on the kata in 2007. Over the years, I have also been exposed to seminars on Unshu in Japan, Australia, and the USA. And those seminars have spanned Shotokan, other Shito-ryu instructors, and Okinawan karate. So at various points in this video, I'll reflect on some of the knowledge I acquired from those training sessions as well. Let's look at the first of the three versions that I want to show. This version is the one that's done by Tani Shito-ryu, such as Shukukai, also very similar to the Hayashi-Shito-ryu version. And this particular footage is over 20 years old, so please excuse the quality in that it was dubbed off a VHS tape, but I wanted to show it for archiving reasons. It's myself performing it at a Zen monastery at sunrise, so you actually hear the Zen drums in the background from the monks doing their various activities outside the dojo we were training in. But it adds a bit of ambience. This particular version also is slightly different than what I would do today, given obviously over 20 years my karate has hopefully finessed a little bit more and has more understanding. So after this I'll do a walkthrough at slow pace of how I do the exact motions in detail today.
Next unique art in the Kata, we have this technique. I'm going to put that technique with 2 or 3 others in a moment. So firstly on its own, and straight out of the Bubishi, you see this in that text, the ancient Chinese text. If there's a rear grab coming in, I can cover up here to help prevent that hand grabbing, knife edge straight into the groin, and then grab and squeeze. Very classic motion. We have that in some of other katas, like the Sensei Shawn has an option for that sort of movement as well. Be very aware, once they've grabbed you, if they're serious about it, they're really hard, they're going to pick me up, they're going to squeeze me so I can barely breathe. Try to get down here, I'm probably good. So it is before the grab has completed that will be effective. After it, talk to any serious judoka or jiu-jitsu person, they'll laugh at you thinking you're going to get that. Because literally, when you work with those guys, they squeeze you so hard you cannot even breathe, let alone do things. Okay. Now, stringing that motion to the follow-on motions in the kata, we get more of a sequence. So we'll go again. That was the classical I just described. Let's go now for another one that I guess is classical in my line, the Tani line, but also maps very well to street statistics. So we have an inside grab coming. I'm going to take that down and elbow up. Right, I'm going to tend to use that right for male-on-male violence. Remember, if you tried to grab my wrist, this is not what males do to males. You don't do that in our bunkai for male-on-male. That would need to be a male and female bunkai demonstration. Okay, this time, so there's your Seito height, that's one option. If he comes in with a hook, large hook, I'll go up high. And now we're looking more like a Shukukai or Rembukan version of the Kata or Hayashi-ha sometimes, depending on who you're learning from. I can still come in and do the chord strike. Okay. Now, this isn't my favourite choice for the reason that it doesn't actually map to the kata. In the kata, we have a block going one way and this block going that way. In this application, I'm showing both things in the one direction. So it doesn't actually map well. However, it is one of the classical explanations. The better classical explanation, which you see often done in competitive judo and jiu-jitsu, is my favourite. So from here, let's say we're grappling, we're pushing around, classic sumo style, I take an open hand straight up to the face. I take that grip down to a gedan barai in this direction. Right, I'm not going to complete the full gedan barai, but you'll see me move into a shikodachi by driving that down after driving his balance up that way. And then